Hello and welcome to the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. I'm your host, Jeff Harvie, registered migration agent with Down Under Visa, the premier Australian migration agent in Manila, Philippines, specialising in visas for Australian Filipina couples. We hope you enjoy this podcast and hope it proves useful to you. Please feel free to share this with your partner and with any of your interested friends. Let's get started. Tourist visas from Philippines to Australia. Two issues. First one, the Chinese tourist visa scam. One thing that you gain when you talk to a lot of potential clients about visas all day is you come to hear every story there is. Tourist visas and partner visas for us mostly, Australian men and Filipina ladies. Not only that, you get to hear the story go round and round and round. When you're around long enough, everything seems to come full circle again and again, and you take very little time to realise what's happening. And yes, that's what I do at Down Under Visa. I have staff to help with a lot of administrative matters, but old Jeff Harvie here is the public face, not the prettiest of faces, but a very experienced one, and one which contains a mouth that tells it like it is. Visa scam. Take one pretty girl and one lonely man. Now, I've been a lonely man myself, and I know from personal experience how it can cloud the judgment. So no one is laughing at you, rest assured. Been there, done that. Made a fool of myself more than a few times, my goodness. Anyway, enough of that. Dignity. Now get yourself a lonely man and a Filipina, maybe living in China or maybe just pretending to be, and have her smile sweetly and laugh at all your jokes. Well, she's already halfway there. She's working and earning good money, so it seems. So why would she want to scam you? And she wants to come and visit, and, well, the romantic imagination runs wild with anticipation. She's got you. Enter the dodgy Chinese travel agent. Okay, she wants to visit you, and she's got a reputable travel agency. Let's call them Dumb Young Guy Travel. Now, they tell you that she will need a few things, and they could be, well, a bond to get a visa. In other words, the Australian government apparently require a bond of $5,000 or so in order to lodge the application. And she needs to show that she can support herself, so she needs some amount equivalent to 3 months' salary in her bank account. And you can expect they'll ask somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. And some large sum for travel and or health insurance for her, which could be a few $1,000s. Or maybe the cost of the plane ticket. Now, of course, she won't have this. She's had to provide her family with glasses for the Carabao, or Granny died again recently, so the travel agent, rarely the girl, will request this from you, and she sounds trustworthy. And they may say it's just a temporary loan and it will come straight back to you a week or so later. Or they may say the employer is going to toss in half of it, and they need the other half from you. And you think, well, it's only $4,000. And watch how fast she disappears once you've handed it over. Now, a bit of truth about Australian tourist visas. Please take note of this, and this is from us as registered migration agents, being qualified, having a great deal of experience. We do know how this works. We do these hundreds and hundreds of times every year. Tourist visas do not require government bonds. There is no provision to even deposit a bond, even if you wanted to. Now, there is a family-sponsored stream which may require an assurance of support, which is basically a bond, but that is for actual family members. It's not for girlfriends, so again, there is no requirement for a government bond. Money in the bank. Now, I would be surprised if even one of our tourist visa applicants over the last year had a bank account where she had managed to pack away the equivalent of $10,000 and had it sitting around in the bank. Now in pesos, that's about 370,000 pesos. Now you ask your Filipina lady if she has that sitting about and watch her fall off her chair basically, and then watch us get her a visa anyway. So logic should try telling you that, trying to convince the embassy that your unemployed girlfriend or your secretary or waitress girlfriend is loaded with savings. It has that fraudulent feeling about it. Think about it. Health insurance. Look, as we've said before, it's a great idea and you would be crazy not to have it. But it's not going to cost you thousands of dollars. And the Australian Embassy are not going to demand it of you or require any proof. So look, if you think you are being scammed and the situation doesn't quite add up, look, I have no problems with you messaging me via the contact form on our website or asking. Please don't message via Facebook Messenger, thanks. Facebook is a private thing and it's not for business. And please don't argue with me if I don't tell you she's a dream rather than a nightmare. You ask for my opinion and, my goodness, you will get it. And a little bit of additional advice. This is one of the advantages of our podcast, is because I go off blog articles that we have on our website and I read them out and I think of things as I go along and I basically do a bit of ad-libbing, so you get a bit of extra benefit from that. Well, I certainly hope that you will. Back in my days back in my dating days, back when I was a sad, lonely man, I made a few very, very stupid mistakes. But one thing I suppose when it really boils down, if something appears to be too good to be true, well then it probably is. One of my things was, this was back in letter writing days, this was before it was so easy to communicate electronically, and we had to wait for letters to arrive in the post, and you'd write to a girl and she'd write back and she'd tell you that she's already fallen in love with me and or you in your case, and I guess the bottom line is, okay, if you've ever been in love, you know why. You know that things that you do touch them, just as things they do touch you. You understand each other, you get each other. It's not really a great mystery. If you come across somebody who you realise, okay, this person doesn't really know me at all, and then they're claiming that they're madly in love with you. Well, if you can't answer the question, why are they in love? Well, then they're probably not. And if you find somebody who's in a screaming rush to get to know you, and at the end of the day she doesn't even really know anything about you. One of the things I used to find in the letter writing days is I'd write a letter and I'd say, this is me, this is all about me, and several paragraphs about what I'd do for a living. And then the letter would come back saying they're madly in love with me, and then a question would be asked, so, what job do you do? And immediately I'd think, you didn't even read the letter. That means you're not really interested in me, as who I am as a person. If somebody's in love with you, they at least know what you do all day. If they don't, it means they haven't taken a whole lot of notice. So again, just be careful. If you take your time, don't rush into things, and goodness sakes, be very, very careful about sending money off. Okay, try to be careful there, because I hate seeing men who are just you just want somebody to love you. You just want to love somebody in return, and this sort of thing happens. Oh, it's horrible. It really is. Okay, off that one, onto the next one. Can she get a 6-month tourist visa? Is this an option? Can you get a 6-month stay for her? Well, it's a lot more likely than a 1-year tourist visa. You'll see I've got articles about that one. Yes, the 1-year tourist visa biggest myth of them all. Well, yeah, as I said, it's a lot more likely that you could get 6 months, but regardless of this, sitting there on the Home Affairs website like a great option, like the 12-month visa, it's not as simple as that. But it all comes down to the purpose of a visa and whether the applicant's intentions truly match those purposes. This is what they're talking about when they talk of an applicant being genuine. Tourist visas are for visiting family and friends and loved ones and for general tourism purposes. And there needs to be an intention to leave at the end of the stay. Convince them of this and they will generally grant a visa. Leave them wondering and they will generally refuse it rather than take a risk. And I suppose they consider that for the average temporary visitor, 3 months is plenty. I mean, it is, my goodness. I'd love to take 3 months off and go and do something. It'd be fabulous. Wouldn't do business any good, but best we can manage is 2 weeks and a couple of days over Christmas every year. That's holidays. Now, we can try for a 6-month stay if you really want, but be aware that it may not happen. Now, I'll borrow something from a response to a client by the department, and I will share this as it relates very directly to requests for stays of 6 months. Okay, it went like this. We understand that you requested a 6-month visa. For your information, please excuse my budgerigars in the background. I thought they were being quiet this afternoon. They've decided to join me. So for your information, however, longer stay visas are usually reserved for parents of settled permanent residents or Australian citizens, or under compelling and compassionate circumstances. You have assessed your demonstrated circumstances and find that you do not meet any of the above criteria. Compelling and compassionate circumstances, missing each other like crazy, that's not compelling or compassionate, and it's certainly not exceptional. It's everybody. Okay? The department would also like to counsel you regarding the conditions of a visitor visa. A visitor visa is only for short visits. A visitor visa cannot be used to stay in Australia on an ongoing basis and therefore maintain de facto residence on visitor visas. De facto residence is considered to be more than 12 months in an 18-month period. Okay? In the view of the above, you have been granted a 3-month multiple entry visa valid for 1 year. That was for that particular client. So it makes it pretty clear. They don't want to give out 6 months for loving Australian Filipina couples. They will give out 3 months. And these days we are finding they are a lot more generous when it comes to giving out multiple entry visas. In years gone by, you had to really prove reason why the applicant had to come and go. And it wasn't easy to prove. Most of the time, if you asked for them, they just simply wouldn't give it to you. They'd give you a 3-month single entry. So, there's a good chance that you can get a multiple entry visa, but forget 6 months, forget 12 months. Okay, be happy with what you get. Could be a whole lot worse. They could be refusing it. Now, just a minor point here, not staying too long on multiple entry tourist visas. And back to what I said about multiple entry tourist visas not being 1-year visas. In order to avoid being refused immigration clearance at the border, this is still from that same bit of advice, it is recommended that you spend as much time offshore in the Philippines as you did onshore in Australia. Therefore, if you intend to stay for the full 3 months in Australia, it's recommended that you remain in the Philippines for 3 months as well before returning to Australia. Look, that's even tougher than what we've suggested, which is staying away for a month after a 3-month visit. Now, it makes it very clear what we've said before about the limitations of tourist visas. Do not think, as you could get away with years ago, everything changes. This is how it works. You used to be able to say, go off to Hong Kong for the weekend, go go and spend the weekend in Bali on the beach. Go over there and come straight back again. That's all. And then everything will be fine. You can have your next 3 months visit. It doesn't work like that anymore. People have done that. They've come back after a couple of weeks and they've been taken aside by the border force people and given a terrible time and threatened, don't do that again. We haven't had anybody actually have their visa cancelled, but they do have the power to do that. They can say, we don't believe you're a genuine visitor, your visa is cancelled. They can stick you back on a plane and send you straight back to Manila, which would be a horrible thing to happen. But being grilled by some loudmouth Australians in a scary uniform, it's not a very pleasant thing either. Okay, so for goodness sakes, be careful with that. We've written articles about this. I have podcasts about this. Listen to them. Read. Share these things with your partner. Share these things with people that you know who you think it could be of interest. And the bottom line is, if you cannot stand being apart, get yourself a partner visa. Okay? Thanks very much. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed and we hope you found this useful. Australian visas from the Philippines are not easy and the outcome matters, as you well know. Please feel free to contact us anytime if you need some further help. And we look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye-bye.